live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimitRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTimitRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you, only confuse you, only confuse you.
All right. Hello, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are listening to this program. Welcome. Welcome to TalkTimitRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with arguably the greatest radio program in history. Because we don't lie. We tell the truth as it is. There are some that can't handle the truth, but we tell the truth. Can't lie. The program is called the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He is on the line now, live from Washington, D.C. He's here to speak or address the subject matter that we have chosen by the way of some of the callers and Gmailers. He will answer and suggest to you different things that you could do. Now, for today's program in particular, it's going to be called, it is called Greater Confinement. Thank you, Anthony, for that suggestion. Now, you will need his books, which Mr. Fuller will talk about, but the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. You will need that book, and you will also need the word guide, which he will explain at the 45-minute mark. But for those of you that do have it, you need to go to page 143, because we're going to be asking Mr. Fuller, what is greater confinement and how does it work in the system of white supremacy racism? We're going to be asking him that. A couple of things. Mr. Fuller's message is very effective. The usual suspects are up to their usual tricks, trying to interfere with the program. But as I discussed with Mr. Fuller last week after last week's show, Mr. Fuller actually calmed me down as I tried to stay balanced. But he said, just be truthful. Well, they've been doing some things. I'm not going to go into all that they've been doing, but they've been trying to wreck Mr. Fuller's message. But my contacts have shown me where Mr. Fuller is effective, because it is my pages and things are blowing up with what Mr. Fuller has been speaking about. So keep up the good work that in. But we're going to try to work through those issues. Phone lines are open. You can dial in 1-877-932-9766 is the number to get in contact with the show. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. You can go to the YouTube channel. We're there. When you do that, just type in the word Talktainment, and then the word radio, and then scroll down to Talktainment number 2, and you are there. Hit the subscribe and like button, and we'll be happy for that. You can also do this. Go to the TalkTimitRadio.com homepage, and just click the Listen Live button. Hit the like and subscribe button there. Also, you can go to Facebook. Go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, and you're there. Another thing here, again, we need your donations for the second hour. We are about $1,900 short. So please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure that you do that donate thing. So we don't have to do this every week, but do that donate thing to cover us for the full year. We need about $1,900 more. So please, ma'am, please, sir, go ahead and do that. Mr. Fuller and myself are not compensated in any way, shape, or form with that, but we need that so that the second hour can proceed. Okay, enough of me. I think I got all the housekeeping out of the way. Enough of me. Okay, thank you. And let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, all righty. Mr. Fuller, what we're going to talk about today is one of our, I would say, Gmailers wrote in and suggested a topic, and then we discussed, not you and I, but we discussed that and thought that it might be good, and that is greater confinement. Some people don't know what that is, but we would like for you to explain that, what it is, and how it works in the system of white supremacy racism.
Well, I call greater confinement what we usually call jail or prison or being incarcerated. That is greater confinement now. That's confinement, but it's greater confinement because black people, the non-white people of the planet, in the system of white supremacy, are already born in prison. They are already confined. We're confined to certain areas of the world where we're told where the borders are and that you can't cross these borders without permission. Permission from whom? From the white supremacists, either directly or indirectly. You have to get their permission if you are a person of color. Now, what about the white supremacists themselves? Do these borders apply to them? Well, if they say so, it applies to them. But if they say, no, it doesn't apply to anybody who's white that believes in racism, then it doesn't apply. So there's a contradiction there in place, but it makes it very clear one thing, and that is borders themselves are a form of confinement if only one segment of the world's population has total control over those borders. Where the borders will be, when the borders will expand, or when they will retract, or when there will be no borders at all in certain places. And then there will be multiple borders in any place that certain people, and the certain people meaning those white people who believe in racism, set the borders. So the borders are always in a state of flux and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So the non-white people are automatically confined by a system, not by any geographical borders.
Okay.
They're confined by the system of white supremacy, which means your border, you're born with your border. Your border is your dark skin. And this dark skin automatically means you can only go and do this and that in certain places that are set aside for you. If you show up in a certain place, a certain time, might be just an area like a swimming pool, and you show up there, and people are not used to seeing your dark skin there, then that's a border. And you may be confined by saying you are restricted from coming in the area of this swimming pool where there are white people. We don't particularly care for dark-skinned people polluting our water. And you are a pollution. You are an alien creature. It's like having some type of animal in my swimming pool. So what are you doing here? The swimming pool is not for animals. The animal bath is over on the other side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what? Greater confinement. So we are born with our borders. And when we are put into narrow confinement, that is what we call greater confinement.
Okay.
But we are confined anywhere we go in the world if you're a person of color.
Yes, sir.
Confined by whom? The people who believe in racism. That's by whom?
Yes, sir. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call. Phone lines are now open. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Let's see. This brother has written, he says, Mr. Fuller, the dangers of greater confinement. Why and how do we avoid greater confinement in the system of white supremacy?
You just do the best you can, because a greater confinement is decided by the white supremacists. They can make any kind of law that they choose to make, and they do this periodically. They take a review, you might say, of all the laws they have on the books, and then they'll just make laws saying, now we're going to put all these dark-skinned people in this particular place. We're going to use real estate tricks and whatnot to have them all in this particular place. This will be a sort of confinement. And this place will be distant from the places where we will allow them to have jobs. So that means that when they get up in the morning, we're going to make sure that there's not adequate highways there between where they reside at night and where they work during the day.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make sure that where they reside at night is a great distance from where they work during the day, and that the highway system will not sustain the number of people who are going to use it. See, they are great mathematicians. They figure everything out. Everything. They don't miss nothing.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So black people, for instance, will wake up and run to their vehicles, and the ones they're allowed to have, or to some metro system, rail system or something, and they will all crowd in, and they will go bumper to bumper or whatever, trying to get to work on time.
Mm-hmm.
And the time will be set so that they know, the people who have the jobs and whatnot, who set up the jobs, they know that on average, most of the black people are going to be late most of the time.
Mm.
All right? They already know this.
They already know that, yeah.
See, so they can always have a legitimate reason, quote unquote, for firing you. Said, well, we can sympathize with you, but you do good work. You're a darn good employee, and we knew that when we hired you. But my goodness, I mean, it seems like you could get to work on time. It just seems like, and so the black person, says, well, I try to do my best, but a truck turned over, and then I was delayed, and this and that and
yes,
whatnot.
Sir.
And well, we don't have anything to do with that, but sorry about that, but we're just going to have to let you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's an effect of confinement, but you don't look at it like it's confinement.
Yes, sir.
See, you never even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out well in advance where you would reside, and that where you would reside would be too far for you to reliably make it to the place where they, in advance, had figured they would allow you to have a job. And, it's a real simple, easy thing to do.
Yes, sir.
And so you're confined.
Okay.
That's just an example.
Okay. What I'm going to do here...
And greater confinement is when you lose your job.
Yes, sir.
And then you start robbing and stealing. Now they really got you.
Okay.
All right. Now you go into much greater confinement.
Yes, sir. Okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. There was a question concerning it, but I'm going to take this phone call, and then we'll do the question. Go ahead, caller. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question, please.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby. My name is Jessica, and I'm calling in. I have been listening to Mr. Fuller for a short time, but just to give you a little background before I ask my question. So my grandmother teaches me this, has always taught me the same concept as the book about minimizing conflict to minimize contact. And I have always practiced this principle. To make a long story short, at my job, I say to myself, so recently, the other day, I got off from work, and I got a strange message from a lady that I work with. She got my phone number from our index at my job, and she began to text me and tell me that she feels that there's animosity between us, and that there's friction, and that I hate her. And when I asked her why she felt this way, she told me that people had been telling her this. And when I asked her who told her, she refused to tell me. So I said to her, well, since you won't tell me who it is, I have no way of being able to get further information, but I have never said such a thing, and it's always my intention to work constructively and peacefully with my coworkers. And so I wanted to know Mr. Fuller's opinion on how to handle the situation, and should I discuss it with my direct supervisor?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Someone is texting you on the job saying that there's a rumor going around that you hate the woman?
Yes, sir.
And she's put this in writing, you might say, or texting?
Yes, sir. And this woman is a suspected white supremacist.
Well, the way you react to it is just say, what did you do? You know, everything comes down to what did you do, and let us specify that. Okay. And you can you say very little in writing. In fact, you say very little, period, even verbally, because whatever you say verbally, you should be willing to say in writing. So be careful about every word that you use involving anything in your employment or in any other circumstance, for that matter. That's just the codified way of doing things. So what you do is just ask questions. What are you talking about? That's what you want to know. And have her, if she will, make a list of things, just request a list of things that you have done that made her think that you hated her. Hate, is a word that kind of floats around. I mean, and in this day and time, they have something called hate crimes. And so hating is a crime if it's expressed by certain standards. Now, what these standards are, I don't know what they are exactly myself, but they say there are such things as hate crimes. I've never seen the list of what constitutes a hate crime, but presumably there is a list somewhere, at least, I guess, on somebody's part, but I haven't seen it or heard of it, what the list is.
And that's what confused me, because when I go to work, I go in, I'm very courteous. I always say good morning, ask anyone if they need help, but I stay to myself. I take my lunch to myself. I don't even interact with people outside of what needs to be done to get my job done.
Well, that's just continue to do that. Don't worry about it. See, worry is one thing you don't want to do. And what gets rid of worry? Answers to questions. Answers to questions gets rid of worry. Mm-hmm. Because worry comes about from being confused about what's going on. Mm-hmm. That's what people worry about. That's the nature of worry. You don't worry about anything that you got under control. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Simply because you have it under control. Mm-hmm. So how do you get things under control? Questions and answers.
Questions and answers, yes. Ma'am, let me ask you this, if I may. You did inquire when this was brought to your attention. What did you do, or who said that you did what, and you were refused the answer, or they wouldn't tell you who it was that made these allegations against you?
Yes, sir. I asked, when this allegation was made, I asked who said it and why she felt that way, and she refused to respond to my question.
Okay. What does she do then, Mr. Fuller? She did ask a question. She was trying to find out where this information was coming from. What does she do then, in that case?
The person didn't give a name?
No, she didn't. She refused to answer my question. She refused to tell me who said it.
The person would not give a name?
No, and she also refused to tell me why she feels
okay, then you report that to the supervisor, of course, and call for an investigation to find out what's going on.
Okay.
That's I always say, stay in the inquiry lane, and you are not supposed to be part of the investigation. You just show the documents that you have, the emails, and ask the supervisor to start an investigation to find out what this is all about. Because you don't know anything about it, presumably. All right.
Okay.
And let them investigate and make a report back to you as to what this is all about. But that's all. You don't have to worry about it anything. Just report it to your supervisor. Just make a report and just hand copies of what you have received to the supervisor and say, since this is job related, that you're requesting that they make an investigation as to what it's all about. And they let them go and find it out. You don't bother with it at all.
Okay.
Let them find out.
All right. Thank you, ma'am, for your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Mr. Fuller, let me do this. TalkToHim@radio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and, of course, politics. Now, here are three that I'm going to share with you. All in the Family with S. Yolanda Robinson. This is Libby with Libby Rand. And, of course, one of my favorite shows is New Money with Drew and Janae. Now, here's the thing. All these shows are exclusive to TalkToHim@radio.com. Now, all you have to do is go to the TalkToHim@radio.com homepage, click on programs, and give a sample of the programs that we have listed there to see if you like it or if you don't like it. That's all you have to do. And if you do, then, hey, like it, share it, whatever you have to do with it. But all that is from TalkToHim@radio.com, radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who is here to answer or give suggestions to your questions. And we are speaking today, it was suggested, a topic of greater confinement. Now, it is on page 143 in the Word Guide. That's an additional book that you can get for purchase. Mr. Fuller will talk about this in the regular United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept book. In about 20 minutes, he will talk about that. But you need to get this book so that you can see, review it, and go over these terms or what he has put down and suggested. So anyway, he's going to talk about that. But page 143, for those of you who do have it, you can look at that and see what's going on. Okay. We have a question. I'm sorry. Caller. Okay. Go ahead, caller. I am so sorry. Go ahead with your question for Mr. Fuller.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby. I appreciate it. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, I had two questions, and I do believe that they are both related to greater confinement. So my first question is that in the state of Chicago, there was a bill that was passed that is going to legalize the substance that many people call marijuana. And many non-white people, I was particularly speaking with some victims yesterday, and they said that this is a victory due to the amount of black men and women, or specifically males, that are incarcerated. And my comment to that person was, I find it very interesting what white supremacists find as important. Mr. Fuller, I guess my question is that why are non-white people so satisfied, and this is just my assumption, with doing everything and calling things victories other than ending the system of white supremacy?
Because we're not aware of it. How many black people on the planet go around thinking about the system of white supremacy as the dominant thing in their entire existence, as the thing that controls every move they make? Very few black people, very few non-white people. If you say something like that, they look at you blankly. For the most part, they don't dispute what you're saying, but they don't even realize what you're saying. I mean, white supremacy, what are you talking about? In fact, that's been the reaction of many people of color when I have mentioned the term white supremacy. They'll say, oh, you're talking about those fellows that ride around and throw bricks through windows and wear swastikas and whatnot, and always shouting the N-word. Yeah, I know about them. I mean, they they're bad people, but that what does that got to do with what I do every day? But see, what the dark-skinned people of the world don't understand, it has everything to do with what you do every minute of every day, wherever you are. But see, we don't realize it. When you're born in prison, you're not aware of the prison. You're not even aware of it. Somebody says that you're in prison, you say, what are you talking about? I'm free. I go where I please. Yeah, you go where you please in the prison yard, which is the entire planet, according to somebody else's dictates. You migrate when the white supremacists make it unsuitable for you to stay where you are. But you think that this is some type of phenomenon that has nothing to do with racism. When if you're a person of color, it has everything to do with racism.
Yes, sir.
Your crop failures and everything has everything to do with racism. If the water dries up in the river, it has everything to do with racism. If you're looking for a job, it has everything to do with racism. If you can't go to a school and learn how to do things that will help you to sustain yourself and prosper, it has everything to do with racism. Everything, not some things, everything. It's all being controlled by that. But when you don't understand white supremacy, like I put in the front of the basic textbook, if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. That's a guarantee. That's not optional. You're going to be confused about everything in your entire existence in every area of activity. And as is economics, you're going to be confused about everything in economics. Education, you're going to be confused about everything in education. Entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion. You're going to be confused about everything in religion. If you don't understand racism, you're going to be confused about everything dealing with sex if you don't understand white supremacy. Everything about sex is going to be absolutely confusing. And, of course, war, and what war is about, which is any type of conflict and whatnot, but the major war, the only one worthy of the name war, is the system of white supremacy itself and everything that takes in, which is everything. That's war. But if you're not going to understand any of the conflicts going on the planet, I don't care what it's about, if you don't understand white supremacy. That's just, now that statement that I just made, or those series of statements, are either true or false. The more you understand about white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, then you understand everything for the most part in all of the areas of activity about what people are doing on this planet, when, why, where everybody's going here. These people are going there, these people are doing that, what the stock market is all about. You got to understand white supremacy.
Excuse me, Mr. Fuller. I hate to interrupt you, but the music is playing. We have to take a break, here, but we'll come right back to that. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. Podcasts all available. That's radio the way it should be heard. Caller and listeners, stay right there. Coming up next, we're going to hear the caller's second question and more of the explanation about greater confinement. All that and more comes up next on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is